Good morning and welcome to Papa's Custom Cars. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be wiring the electrical for the electric car and putting in a charge station out in front of the garage. So with that, let's get to work. Okay, like I said in the intro, we're going to be putting in a power station in the front. We do have 50 amps here in the garage. We do have a 50 amp circuit in the garage, so we do have the circuit that's available. The issue with it is 50 amps is the max that my sub panel here in the garage handles. So I've got to go down into the main panel and swap out the breaker, the 50 amp breaker, for a 60 amp breaker. The wiring that they did put in for the garage will support up to 100 amps, so that's a good thing. But we really don't need more than 60 amps at any given time, be it charging the car, welding, or anything of that nature. My welder runs on 30 amps, and there's a 40 amp circuit for the welder, so we got that covered. The whole thing being you can't run everything at the same time, but with that added 60 amp circuit from down there, I should be fine. I have run the welder and lights and everything at the same time and not had a problem. Actually, I've run everything in the garage and a jacuzzi tub at the same time, and it didn't have any issues. So that's what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to start from the front of the garage and move back towards the panel, because once I get to the panel, I've got to shut the panel down. And I've also got to shut down all of the electricity in the house, including the solar and everything, because I do need to swap out that 50 amp down in the basement for the sub panel to a 60 amp. And like I say, the wiring is good enough to handle that. Had an electrician come out and look at it, and we saw some pretty weird things in that fuse box. The whole house used to be electric range, electric water heater. Those are both gone. So there's 90 amps of circuit, or actually probably more like 80 amps of circuit that I can use to bring up here to the garage. So I'm just going to tap down and go from 50 to 60 up here. And then later on, if I decide to go higher, I'll bring in a main feed from the main breaker here directly to the garage. I can do that because the breaker that we've got out there, the main breaker we've got out there, will support up to 200 amps, believe it or not. Most of the house has capacity for is probably 150. We won't need any more than that unless I go crazy, put in a couple of lifts, but I don't see that happening. So that's what we're going to work on today. So I'll probably fast forward through a lot of it, because a lot of it is drilling holes and putting conduit up and pulling wire and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm not going to bore you with all that. The other thing that's happening this weekend is I've got the V6 in the 1500 pickup. I put an ad on Craigslist and said free to whoever wants it. And I had 3 people contact me right away saying, yeah, we want it. Yeah, we want it. So I set aside time to wait for them to come, and nobody ever came. So they kind of wasted my time for the entire day. So the next thing I put up was the same ad, only I said, you need to put down a $50 deposit if you're interested. And when you're done, I'll refund that $50 deposit to you, minus PayPal fees, because I'm not paying the PayPal fees for you to get a free engine. So that's happening today too. I'll get you a little bit of filming on that, I'm hoping. But that's kind of where we're at today. So let's get to work and let's get this conduit run so that we can plug in our electric car. So the charge connection is going to be right outside the garage here. So I've already used my stud finder and found the stud naturally right here where this little hook is. Hook's going to come out. And then I've figured exactly where my hole is going to go from my box. So basically I just used my stud finder, found the edge of the stud, and then popped a hole in the box. And that's where that'll go through, is right there. We do want it kind of high up so that it doesn't get wet during rain and that kind of thing. So right now I've got to blow a 3/4 hole through this so that I can run the conduit out to the front. or not the conduit, but the power out to the charge circuit. I'm not going to hook up this part because my unit's not going to be here till tomorrow, but we are going to run the conduit up and around the whole top of the garage, and I've got all that in place, or not in place, but I've got to put all that in place, so that's what we're going to do next. So first off, we're going to drill this hole and get it ready. It's another day at Papa's Custom Cars. I didn't get as much run as I'd like to yesterday, and my battery went dead while I was up there doing it all, so I'm not sure how much of that that I've got yet, but I can kind of run you through what I've already got. I ended up stopping right over here. I didn't even make it, 10 feet. I had to go out. Young kid and his dad came down to take the V6 out of the Chevy truck. It was a freebie for him. So they drove all the way down from Pocatello, Idaho to pick up the motor, and that took most of the day. They kind of needed my help. One of the motor mounts had broken. The steel snapped. So they had a hard time getting everything out because, as you know, with a manual transmission, you've got it in through the clutch and into the input, so you can't just wiggle it out, not unless you pull the trans too. I didn't want to pull the trans out. So we had to lift the engine and get it off of the broken mount, which was half the trouble. We ended up getting it all off. I ended up pulling the front roller side off of it, and he loaded it on his trailer and took it home. I guess he's putting it in an S10 that has a 4-cylinder in it now, so that'll be a nice upgrade for him. He is in a shop class now, or auto shop class now, so he's going to learn how to do it. Already knows a little bit, but definitely that'll help. So where we're at so far is, let me show you here real quick. So I've finally got through the wall, through the rock wall. It took a good hour. The drill bit that I had wasn't in very good shape, but it's a really long drill bit. The new one will cost plenty of money. I finally ended up pulling it off, going over the grinder, and grinding it so that I could get through the wall. So I've got the cable through the wall now. I do have to pull the box back off again. I've got to put a feeder for out there couples the wire and holds it in place so it doesn't chafe. So I've got to put that in, but I've got a couple of feet of wire out there, so I'm good there. So I'll end up pulling the cover off, pulling the box loose, pulling the cable back out again, putting that little connector on it to hold it in place. And basically what it does is it clamps the cable to the box through the back. So it'll definitely stop chafing and wear, even though it's going to be permanently mounted on the wall on the other side, the charge unit. I still want everything as good as it can get, because when you're dealing with this much electricity, you definitely want to make sure it's done right. So I've run up around the corner and then over to, I've got about a 12-foot run right now. I've got is, I need to put one of these in. Basically what it does is it connects the wire so that when it goes into the box, it protects the wire from getting frayed on the edges of the box and such. When I put it in last night, I spaced it and completely forgot to put it in there. So that's got to go in there. So in order to do that, I need to take apart the box again. Sorry for the sound quality this morning. My microphone batteries also went dead. So I'll show you what this does to a wire when you don't have one in there.
I live here.
Evidently he doesn't think so.
this locks it in place so it doesn't move around, get cut, all that kind of fun stuff. So that this will fit there. Basically what it does is you clamp the wire on here, and it goes through here, and because of that it doesn't chafe the wire as it's going through. So definitely an important part of it. So, but it's tricky because I got to run it through here and then out the hole, and then put everything back. Like making that turn, but for now that's all it's got to do. I may add a 50 amp to this later, and that way it can support any car that plugs into it. Not that this unit won't. This unit will do up to 48 amps to the car charge system, but there you go, all finished up. But that'll keep that wire from chafing. As you saw, it was already chafing just from being pulled through that hole. Make sure that when you're doing it, you put one of those in. I should have run the tape down the whole thing, and that way this would have been secured and good. So on to something else. So it comes from that wall over here, and then across, and then just past this window, which is what the first 2x4 that I'm running into, along with there's a power below it. So I'm going to put an outlet box here, and then I'm going to put another outlet box over there. As you can see, I've terminated the wire there, and they'll be tapped in to go to the next run and tapped from there to go to the power box. And the reason I've done that is in case I need to put a 50 amp circuit outside for, say, an RV, a lift, anything that could come in the future, I want to be able to just tap into the line and drop a cable, because not everybody's going to want an electric car, and odds are if I ever move from here, that's coming with, because it's a $500 unit, and it talks to my solar, so I definitely want to have that. But this is where it'll terminate, and right now I'm running the stretch down to the next one, and then down by the window farther down there'll also be a box. So I'll be able to run the power at that end or this end of the garage on the outside just by poking a hole through the wall and dropping cable and conduit through there. So that's kind of where I'm at today. So hang tight and we'll get back to work on this. I've got to finagle myself around these curves, and that'll be loads of fun, and then it's a straight run all the way through, so it shouldn't be too tough. But that's kind of where we're at. Sorry about yesterday. We ran out of battery power. I ended up having to help get this engine out of the 1500, that V6 out of there. Gave it to a kid in Pocatello, Idaho. He's putting in an S10 with a 4-cylinder. He's got a 4-cylinder now, so the V6 is a good upgrade for him. And as Tony Angelo has shown us on Stay Tuned, you can get a lot of power out of them with a little turbo. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything right now. So stay put, or stay tuned, and I'll get the rest of this run done, and I'll talk to you in the interim. I am going to speed up most of it, because if you've ever done this before, it's pretty boring. But that's kind of how I'm doing the run, so that you know why there's boxes there, because I'm sure that question will come up. Alrighty, so with that, I'm going to get to work. So I'll show you how I'm going to measure out, because I've got to drop down here to go underneath the heater duct. I can't go through because there's a heater duct in there, and it goes up into the upstairs, so I have to do it a little bit different. So this is what I'm doing. I put it all together to get my curve and everything. Moved everything out of the way, and then I just need to mark where this is going to be at the box. The shelving unit goes all the way to the top, but because you can't do a 90 degree But because you can't do a perfect bend, you're not going to get around the corner of that edge. So you are going to be a little bit farther out on the edge and a little bit farther from underneath. So more than likely you're going to put your brackets in here, but you want to get your cut line for this. So that's what I'm going to do next, is cut this and fit her into place. Don't know how I ever got through life without a cutoff saw. Again, sorry about the volume. As soon as I get everything charged up, but I need to deburr this edge real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Like I said, I got to run up underneath there, and then once I get everything repositioned, I'll bring you back.
5 minutes later.
So I wanted to come back for just 1 second. On the second box, I am going to go ahead and put a grommet in it, or one of the, where is it? Oh, there they are. One of the connectors in it, and I am going to run a little piece of conduit into the wall. I'm not going all the way through the wall and out the other side. I'm just going to put it in so that it's there, because that particular one is probably going to be the one that's going to be hooked up first. The other one, not so much. It just depends on the circumstances, but with the gate and everything set back from the gate, odds are that I'll use the back power outlet before I'll use that front one, unless something changes. But in every house that I've ever done, I've run a conduit out and then run in a hookup in the front and a hookup in the back. 99.9% of the time, use the one in the back for your RV. Or whatever I'm doing. The one in the front is in case I ever decide to put in a lift, because that'll be towards the front part of the driveway, not the back part. Back part's where all the sheds are. I don't want to put a lift out back there. So I am going to blow this hole in. I am going to put a hole in the wall. That way I can put it in, and I know that it's ready when I'm ready. And all I'll have to do is pull the outlet out a little bit, run the turn it, run the conduit through to the other side, and then just tap into it from there. And I'll have everything in place already so that it'll be ready to go out the back. And then, like I say, I'll just put a little piece of conduit on it just for now, just as a way to put it in there and make sure that everything's ready to go. So I just thought I'd come back for a second and touch on that. But in just a minute, I'll get this thing spun around and we'll get this outlet up on the wall. First, you got to find your stud. Step on your hammer so it smashes your head. I know that there's a stud here somewhere, so I'm going to start right about here and start moving over till I find it. That's interesting. It didn't find anything, so I must have been on a stud when I tried to find a stud. So let's go from here. Yep, right there. Yeah, sometimes these stud finders are a pain. Betting it's right there. This is empty, but there could be electrical back there. So the trick here is I've got to mount it here, but I've got to be able to go through the wall to get to the outside. This feels, over here is hollow, but over here is solid. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to go farther that way. With this window frame in here, anything's possible. Yeah, it's telling me it's right here. So it's to this side of the outlet down there. So that gives us a starting point. And what I'll do is use one of these heavy screws, get it to do what I want. Okay, so and there's our drill mark right here. So we're going to go ahead and blow that hole in. Okay. And that's that. She's still up a little bit, but like that. She'll go right on that corner. It feels loose. Oh no, they're all tight. So. Where's the bottom of that one go? Oh, I'm missing socket. Trying to deburr it. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and pause for a little bit. We'll get a drink of water. I need to get some water in me. And then I'm going to pull the line, and I'll bring you back after I got that line pulled. Ain't no sense in watching you yank cable through there. It's pretty much boring work. So I'll bring you back when I'm at the outlet. Well, that's going to be pretty much the wrap for the day. I've got about half of the wiring run. I do need to have my son help me pull the rest of the wire. I've got those two bends and it got hung up in there pretty bad, so I'm going to have to break it apart, feed it, break it apart, feed it, because it doesn't want to turn those corners. I also just got in the charger unit. It's a Emporia smart home EV charger. It's smart because it works in conjunction with our solar system and has an app and it's Wi-Fi. And it'll run up to 48 amps of power if I want to run a 60 amp circuit. The circuit is strong enough to run a 60 amp circuit, but that means I'd have to bring more up from downstairs or out of the house. And I could, but I really don't see a need for it. Charging at 40 amps the car, 40 or 48 amps, it's such a little bit of a difference. The time isn't really going to change much. So next week we'll finish pulling that line and install this. And I'll kind of do a review on it because I didn't see any real reviews on it except, people complaining whether it worked or people saying it was great. Kind of the whole Amazon thing. It was reasonably priced. So for $399 plus tax, plus I spent an extra $55 and got a 3-year extended warranty on it because with something like this, you want to make sure that you're covered no matter what. So that's going to be a wrap for today. No work on the cars at all this weekend with the exception of pulling the motor out of the pickup and then just basically setting everything aside because I'm not really going to be doing anything to that until next year. come spring or summer. I've got to get this one done over the winter. Not sure how yet, but I'm going to get that engine in there come heck or high water. So that'll be a wrap for today. Like, share, subscribe. If there's any individual content you want to know about, just shoot me a note, and I'll get that content going for you. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with me today and pulling cable and running conduit. Kind of those things that get in the way of this and why it's taken 10 years to take the car from where it was to where it's going. So everybody have a great week, and I'll see you next week.